Hey everybody, happy Saturday evening live tutorial stream. How is everybody doing out there wherever you are? It sounds like the girls behind the curtain are real happy that their work week is over in about 6 minutes.
Oh, miss you guys.
You better come back on Monday. No running away to foreign countries. Or you can, but you have to come back on Monday.
So make sure it's a close foreign country.
Exactly. Like, you know,
Mexico.
Collin County. So anyway, hi. Happy Saturday. We're all a little punchy. It was a busy as hell day at Feeding Dreams today, which I was not expecting since it is Texas tax-free weekend. Texas tax-free weekend this weekend, which means that everything that is school supplies, clothing, and certain other essentials are tax-free. And so usually on tax-free weekend, most people are out buying those things. But now today, people were here buying the beads, not complaining at all. Very tired. So here we are for our Saturday evening tutorial, which is going to be this one. Earrings, you know, I like earrings. I know we have viewers who like earrings, so I always try to put at least one earring class every week. So this is our simple paddle earring. Now, two ways that you could construct this earring, and I'm going to go over both of them because basically one of them involves using a hole punch and one of them does not. Now, when I made this sample, I was at home and I think my cat ran off with my hole punch. That's my story and I'm sticking to it because I could not find it. But I do have a hole punch here at Feeding Dreams. So this is my prototype, and I'll talk about tools and supplies in just a minute, but I'm going to talk about, oh dear. Sorry, Heather.
Did you just put me up?
I didn't mean to, because okay, go hide or something, because I never toggled you off in that other frame. But I'm going to show, so surprise everybody, there's a Heather cam now, which is going off until the sale.
Are you flipping off Heather?
I didn't mean to. I did not mean to, actually. I promised Heather that I was not going to put her on camera until the sale. She's like,
I still wasn't picking my nose.
she's like, should I put on lipstick? I'm like, no, not till the sale. So the Heather cam will be back on the sale tonight, Corvus, I promise. But I did promise her she'd have some time to prepare. So I dropped her into that other frame last night after the broadcast and forgot to toggle the camera off. Oopsie.
So good to see you, Heather.
But yeah, so surprise, we have a Heather cam now. It is available at the push of a button, which is, I think, terrifying to Heather. But what I was trying to do before I scared the crap out of Heather by showing her on the internet is this.
Heather's run away.
I know, right? If I hear the door jinging, Heather's just like, Heather's gonna leg it. She's like, no, I'm not having it. Okay, so
I'm going to use tape, which is loud.
okay, so as long as you don't, go out the door.
It's not my plan,
So
but we'll see.
it's a pretty simple concept, this earring. It's just a loop of wire. I did hammer it, and then I made double loops here and lined them up, and that is the bottom of my earring. And I did the same thing on my paddle. I hammered it flat, and then I looped it to attach it to my bead. But what I'm going to try tonight is, instead of doing that, I'm going to try hammering out these ends and punching holes and lining them up and wrapping my bead through the hole. And I'm interested to see which one actually turns out better. So I will kind of go through when I'm diverging from the sample of what your actual options are as far as that goes. So tools and supplies. We have 16 gauge wire. I'm using 16 gauge sterling silver, but it's a cold connection class. The fact that we're hammering isn't going to affect anything. I would say don't use colored wire because of the amount of hammering that we're going to be doing on this evening's project. The colored wire is going to probably wind up pretty scratched up. But anything else, so sterling silver, gold, filled, brass, bronze, copper, craft wire of any stripe except for colored is going to work just fine for this. We're going to need 16 gauge wire, and we're going to wind up needing about 10 inches, and then 14 gauge wire, we're going to need about 3 inches. You can definitely vary those. If you want bigger, let go. If you want a bigger frame here, then use longer pieces of wire. If you want a smaller frame, use shorter pieces of wire. Same goes for the paddle. I am so sorry, Heather. I should have just not said anything. 'Cause if I hadn't said anything,
I wouldn't even
you
have known.
but that would have been rude. You're gonna need 2 beads. They do need to be center drilled. This is not, this particular method of using them as a connector only works if you got to hold straight down through your bead. And of course you are gonna need a couple of ear wire. Wow, the camera's like, nope, your hand is too white. All right, we're gonna need a couple of ear wires if we're gonna make a functional pair of earrings. As far as tools go, you're gonna need your basics. You're gonna need a wire cutter. I've got my heavy duty wire cutter. Chomp chomp, because I've got 14 gauge wire. Chain nose pliers, we may or may not use that. We probably will, because I don't know if I've ever really done a project without using a chain nose pliers. You're going to need your round nose pliers only if, oh no, never mind. I'm a rotten liar. You also need your round nose. Forget that I said only if. You're gonna need your chasing hammer. If you don't have a chasing hammer, your household hammer will work just fine. You need a hammering surface, bench block, or bench block equivalent. A dowel is going to be helpful for forming your drop component. If you don't have a dowel, you can use any found object that's about, this is about a 7/8, so about an inch in diameter is going to work just fine. And then we do also need just a little bit of 24 or 26 gauge sterling wire. That's going to be for attaching our beads. So I'm going to start by cutting my wire. So I'm going to do 2 5-inch pieces of my 16 gauge. That's going to give me the same size as my, I want to do that same size as my prototype, or do I want to make them shorter? We're just going to do 5 inches. So 2 5-inch pieces of 16 gauge wire, and then 2 1.5-inch pieces of the 14 gauge wire. And once again, these are measurements that you can vary. Okay, these are measurements that you can play with in order to get the scale of earrings that you like. For instance, if you want to make big ass earrings, you can make larger loops. If you want to make, smaller earrings, then you can make smaller loops. So that was 2 5-inch pieces of my 16 gauge, and then 2 1.5-inch pieces of my 14 gauge. And I am going to take a second and flush cut the ends for anybody who's not really familiar with flush cutters, if it's kind of a mystery to you. So any cutter that's a flush cutter, what that means, and I didn't say flush cutter because any cutter can be a flush cutter if you're using it wrong, but flush cutters will cut a nominally flat edge in the wire, but they only do it on one side of the cutter. So this is the flush side, this is the non-flush side. So you can pretty clearly see what happens when I put these two ends back together. So flush side, non-flush side. So the non-flush side makes a pointed end, which isn't going to hammer out very pretty. So I'm just going to take a minute, I'm going to snip that off, and then measure myself 1.5 inches and flush cut the other side. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make my curves. And so generally when you're doing a shape that is hammered, your order of operations is going to be shape, then hammer. Why that is because hammering work hardens your pieces. It basically locks them into shape. So it's a lot harder to, thank you Diane so much. You are amazing. Do you want me to take those or will they? You got it. She balanced them. It was an amazing feat. So you can still bend something after you've hammered it. It's just a lot harder. So I'm going to grab my dowel. I'm going to grab my 16 gauge wire. I'm going to take my 16 gauge wire and I'm just going to find approximately the middle of it, and I'm just going to bend it around my dowel. And I want to try my best to keep these ends fairly even, and I can cross them over a little bit because they're going to spring back like so. Okay, so this is a pretty good form that I have here. All right, I've got a nice curve at the top, and I'm not going to have to do too much manipulating at the bottom. I did not get it completely centered. This one is just a tiny bit longer, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that off. Okay, now second, By pull that off, I meant cut that off. Sorry. It's Saturday. My work week will be over in just 4 short hours, which means that my talker is getting a little tired as well. And then we are going to just go ahead and do a little bit of this and make sure that they are same. They're not. This one's a little bit longer, so I'm going to cut that off. Ooh. Itchy nose. Okay, and now comes the question. So this very elongated shape, if you're gonna do this, is good. This is what you want because you're gonna lose, a solid, 3/8 of an inch or so when you curl those over. But since I'm gonna try hammering them and overlapping them like so, I don't know that I want it to be that big. So we're gonna, and and by we I mean me, may regret this later, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna chop off about 3/8 to 1/2 an inch on either side. So once again, we've reached a place of Allison is changing the project while live on stream. This does not always work out well for Allison, so stay tuned for the exciting results. Now we hammer. So we got 2 things to hammer. We need to hammer this curve, and then for me, I need to hammer the ends. I need to paddle them out, just like I'm going to paddle out this. And so by paddle out, and paddle a canoe, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my metal on my bench block. I'm going to strike it with the center of my chasing hammer really, really hard. And what I'm going to do when I'm doing that is I'm going to pull my chasing hammer to the side a little bit. And what that's going to do is it's going to encourage, oh my God, nobody wants to become famous.
What?
Is it just me or are we getting more bots lately? Wow, double bots. I mean, wow, am I kind of a big deal now that the bots think I want to become famous? Or am I a medium deal and they think I want to become a big deal? It's unclear, the motivation of the bots. But anyway, so when I hammer and pull to the side, it'll encourage my metal to spread out and make this shape that's called a paddle. Now this is actually a pretty useful shape to know how to do because you can do this on the end of wire. Say if you need a head pin in a hurry and you don't want to do the little curly bit on the end, you can hammer out the end and make paddle head pins. Also, you can just do that because it looks cool and it's decorative. So lots of uses for paddles. All right, so here's my bench block. I'm going to put these on my bench block one at a time. And Carol, I didn't tell you I like your shirt.
Thank you.
Got my chasing hammer. Your chasing hammer is special because the head is convex. That means I can hit the metal with the center of my chasing hammer and not get a tool mark from the edge of my hammer on the metal. It's going to get loud for a minute, so if you want to mute me, now's a good time, but I'm going to start by hammering around this curve. Okay, you will notice that it's going to deform your curve a little bit. That's okay. I promise you will be able to bend it back. Then I'm going to paddle out my ends. So just take note of before and after. And if I'm going to use my hole punch on these, I need to make sure it's not in there. I need to make sure that I paddle this out until it's at least 3 millimeters wide. So that should be good. Camera. There we go. Sorry, it does not like it when I have all of the shiny on camera. Okay, and I'm going to do the same with the other side. And anyone who was paying super close attention to that might have noticed that I actually change the, okay, I need something to put this on. It's not my hand, so my camera stops freaking the heck out. Okay, so you may have noticed that I changed the direction of my, what I call it stirring, basically where I'm hammering and pulling to the side, and that's what helps me get an evenly centered paddle. So now I'm just going to repeat that with my other horseshoe component. All right, and then paddle the ends. Yes, I have hammering face. It's been that kind of day. Something just fell down. I have no idea what it is. Yeah, so it was a busy day. It was a crazy day. It was one of those days where it's like you're pulled in 17 different directions, and somehow, literally between one moment and the next, I managed to misplace an entire container of drill bits. I mean, the thing's not large. It's about that tall and, you know, about half an inch square, but I literally was using it. Walked away, came back, and it was gone. And I know that I put it somewhere, like nobody else touched it or moved it. Unless somebody activated a pocket dimension at Beating Dreams. I don't know. It's extraordinarily frustrating though, because there was a client who needed something drilled and I did not have the drill bits, even though I had literally just drilled something for her with them not 5 minutes prior. That kind of day. Okay, so now I'm going to do my 2 paddles, which are not even close to being the same length, so let's even that out. So I'm going to do that exactly the same way. So we're going to, and I think it's going to look neater if I paddle, where's my tool case? I think it's going to look neater if I paddle them 90 degrees. So I've got 2 ways I could do this. I can paddle out this end and this end so that they're both flat, or I can paddle out this end, flip it 90 degrees, and then paddle that end so it's rotated 90 degrees. Obviously, if I flipped it 90 degrees, that's what would happen. I think I'm going to try that. We're going to see how that works for me. So that means I'm going to take my one of my 1.5-inch pieces of wire, and once again, this is 14 gauge wire. This is a little thicker than what I'm using for the bulk of my earring, just so I can get a really nice spread on my paddle. And I'm going to paddle out about the bottom half of this wire, hopefully without smashing my fingers in the process. Alright, so there is a nice paddle. We're going to do the same on the other piece of wire. When I'm doing them like this, I like to do them one than the other, just so that I get them as close as possible to looking the same. Which I totally did not do. You need more smashing. You can't unsmash, so if you smashed one wire then the other, you have to go back and rehammer the first one. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. So I'm holding it like this, set it on my bench block, and paddle the other half. So I've got this one going that way and that one going that way. And I think that's going to be a nice look on my earring. And then repeat with the other one. Oh, hammering after a frustrating day is so awesome. Okay, so now it's time to punch my holes. So once again, if I were doing the non-hole punch version, I would have skipped this hammering here, okay, these paddles here, not done those, and I would have skipped one set of these paddles here. I would have done the bottoms but not the tops. And then I would take my round nose pliers and I would just grab with my round nose and I would curl my loops under, so they were both going to the inside, one there and one there. And for anybody who's not super familiar with how to curl a loop like that, you're just going to take your round nose pliers, you would grab at the end of your wire, you'd brace with your thumb and you just roll and push against your thumb. And seriously, really push against your thumb. It makes a big difference. Once you get to the point where your wrist can't roll any further, you're just going to loosen your pliers, spin them back, and then rotate forward again. And that's how you curl a little loop like that. So I'm going to try and punch holes and see if I can get the same effect. So I have two sides to my hole punch. I've got a small side and a large side. The small side's about 1.6 millimeters. That's the side that I'm going to use for this. So I also, especially at this point in the week, it's always a good idea for me to stupid proof things. Because if you punch a hole in the wrong place, you cannot unpunch it. It's there and it ain't going away. So I'm just going to put some dots on this middle where I want my holes to be. So I just used my Sharpie to mark where I want that hole to go. And then I'm going to take my screw down metal punch and I'm going to place my metal in the punch. I'm going to twist my punch down until the punch is resting on the hole, or the dot that I want to become the hole. Then I'm going to continue to twist my punch clockwise until it goes through my metal. So it's just going to, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it kind of get more difficult and then get easier. You know that you've gone through the metal if you can actually move your metal independently of your punch. Then you know you're through. Then you're going to twist your punch counterclockwise until the metal falls off the punch on its own. Dink. And there is my hole. And I'm just going to repeat that on, I've got another hole on my other paddle and then 2 holes on each of my earring main components. Now, if you have access to a drill, and if you haven't lost all of your drill bits, okay, to be fair, I didn't lose all of my drill bits, I just lost all of my drill bits in the one size that I needed for this particular project, and I was drilling cord out of a very expensive bead, which means I needed literally the smallest drill bit that I have, so I couldn't even substitute another size. Oh, like I said, frustrating day. But hey, now I've got you guys. And we are going to, I'm going to continue punching these, we are going to, after this tutorial, we are going to have our Saturday evening, dang it, I dropped it, BRB. We're going to have our Saturday evening Sips, Shopping, and Shenanigans sale. So we are continuing our Martini month. This is week 5 of Martini month, and we are not going to be slowing down anytime soon because there are so many yummy martinis and martini-like drinks out there. So we're going with, because we received a beautiful bottle of gin from one of our stream viewers, we're going with a classic martini tonight, just a basic dry martini garnished with your choice of pickled item. Heather's doing olives. I'm doing actual pickles because I don't like olives, nor do I like cocktail onions. But that's going to be our drink for tonight. And that is going to be the 7:30 live sale stream. We have some fun stuff. We're going to do a bargain night tonight on the stream because I have all kinds of $5 strands. And then I have a couple of more interesting things as well. And I've got some sparkly crystals. So it's going to be a fun kind of mixed bag stream for tonight. But we have a ton of $5 agate strands. So hopefully that's going to be a good time on the Sip Shopping and Shenanigans stream. And again, that commences on this channel, twitch.tv/beating dream. About 30 minutes after I finish the tutorial. I'm probably going to finish somewhat close to on time tonight, so we're going to be starting between 7:30 and 7:45 for Sips, Shopping, and Shenanigans. If you haven't been on one of our live sales before, it's usually a rollicking good time. There's definitely humor, and tonight we will debut the permanent Heather Cam. So, fun times. All right, now she's excited. Just need to feed her a martini and she'll be really excited.
That's right.
Actually, right now she's excited because she's had three Diet Cokes today, which for Heather is a lot.
Which is 50% more Diet Cokes than usual.
Officially preview it, exactly. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna bend these so that these two holes line up. So you can use your dowel or not. I find it useful to at least start on my dowel to just make sure I'm not like squooshing that completely out of shape, but there's gonna come a point where you literally can't bend it far enough around your dowel to line those up, because wire has, you know, tension, especially hammered wire, and we do need to make sure that these two holes are wanting to sit next to each other, because our 26 gauge wire that we're going to use to attach our bead, it's not strong enough to actually hold them together. So we've got to use the tension on the wire to hold them together, and then we can hang the bead from them. So what's happened here is my whole thing's gotten a little out of plane. So I'm just going to use my chain nose pliers to fix that, and I think if I fix that, we should be mostly good. And then here's a trick. If they won't come together, just switch their position, and a lot of times that solves 90 to 100% of the problem. And there we go. So that's what we want. We want those two holes lined up so they basically look like one hole. Now, could you line this up and then punch your hole? You absolutely could. That's not my favorite way of doing it, because you can see there are very small margins around these holes. So specifically, you know, with the one that's underneath, the one you can't see as well, you know, I always have big fears that it's gonna slip and I'm gonna blow through the side of that. And your fix for that is you got to make your whole earring smaller. Like say, and I didn't do a stellar job of punching that hole. Like you can see my Sharpie mark there. And you can see my hole, not on my mark at all, but still workable because there's metal all the way around it. But if I had actually blown through the edge there, hey Sophia, if I had blown through the edge there, my fix for that would be I would have to basically chop off both of these ends so that they were even, paddle this out, re-punch my holes. So you know, even if it takes a little bit more time, you know, long story short, it's just easier if you don't screw it up. There's that. Okay, so now I'm ready to put everything together. I have my pieces aligned. I've got my paddles. I've got my holes. I'm going to grab some 26 gauge wire. I don't need much. I just need enough to do 2 wire wrap links. So if you want to be generous with yourself, 6 inches should be fine. If you are, you know, if it's 3 a.m. and you have just a tiny little piece of wire, 4 or, you know, even 3 inches will probably be okay. So this is a basic wire wrap loop. This is, as those of you who've been hanging out on the Beading Dream stream for a while now, is one of my favorite techniques. It's one of the things that I think is legitimately the most useful thing you can possibly teach yourself. And my basis for that is the fact that for the past 20 years of my beading and jewelry crafting career, I have literally done this technique multiple times every single day, regardless of situation, whether I'm at work making jewelry, if I am at home making jewelry, if I am doing random repairs for friends and family. Like, you know, it really averages out to like 10 a day. Granted, yes, there are a couple of days in the past 20 years where I've done 0 wire wrappings, but then there are other days which vastly make up for that. So to do your basic wire wrap loop, you're going to start with your round nose pliers. And we do have, and they're aging off of Twitch, so I definitely need to put a couple more on, but we do have some tutorials that focus on the basic wire wrap loop. So just go back into our archives, find anything that says back to basics, wire wrapped, whatever, and you'll find a basic wire wrapping tutorial, but I will put some more up in the near future. All right, you're going to start with your round nose pliers, and you're going to grab about 1 inch or so from the end of your wire. You're going to push that wire away from you, over your pliers to make a 90-degree angle. Now I'm going to loosen my pliers, and I'm just going to rotate them 1/8 of a turn and grab right on that corner that I just made. Now I'm going to pull that wire back up over the top of my pliers towards me and down. So see, I'm starting to make a loop around my pliers. Now I'm going to need to finish my loop, but I have a problem. This is in the way, so we need to get that out the way. Get out the way! Loosen, rotate, grab. That's how you do it. It's just that simple. Then take this piece that's in the front, push it underneath your pliers so that you form what we on the Beading Dreams stream call the lady with a scarf. All right, we call her that because she vaguely looks like a lady if she were in a convertible wearing a dramatically long scarf, loitering along with it trailing out behind her. Now I'm going to take my lady with a scarf and I'm going to grab one of my paddles. I'm going to find the hole and I'm just going to take the scarf wire, thread it through the hole, and then pop that paddle. Where is actually my focal distance? Okay, it's there. Pop that paddle into the loop like so. Now I'm going to take my chain nose pliers. Those are the flat ones. Those are the ones we use for grabbing, holding, and smashing things. I'm going to hold across that loop. Yes, you're probably going to wind up holding the paddle as well. That's totally fine. And I'm going to wrap the scarf wire around the main body of my wire about 2.5, 3 times, okay? You don't need to go crazy with the Cheese Whiz on your wire wrapping. And snip. And then after you've snipped, you're going to have a little pokey end there. Just go ahead and flatten that down. Now grab one of your beads. Again, these have to be center drilled beads. Drop that bead onto your wire. Now, this loop needs to be a little bit bigger than the loop you made for the bottom because it's got to go through 2 pieces of metal, and also it needs to be rotated 90 degrees from the one that you just did. This is applicable regardless of whether you are doing the just curled over version or the version that I'm doing, because notice, all right, if you look at this link here you're looking at the hole, the circle of the link. Here you're looking at the side. Like, to look through the hole, I've got to rotate it 90 degrees. So we need to do the same thing here. So what that means to make a loop that is 90 degrees rotated from what I just made is I need to start looking at the hole, the circle of the link that I just made. So I'm going to grab with my round nose pliers. Again, I want to make a little bigger loop, so I'm going to go not at the tip, but kind of closer to the middle. Away, rotate, back up over the top, rotate, underneath. That should give you, once again, lady with a scarf. Now grab one of your earring components that's nicely lined up. Take that scarf, put it through that hole. Carefully pop that whole thing into your loop. You may need to open that loop a little bit because you don't want to deform that as you're popping that in. Take your chain nose pliers, hold across your loop like so, and then wrap. And you want to start wrapping at the base of the loop, and you want to not stop wrapping until you've reached your bead. Now, since you made a bigger loop on this one, you're going to have a bigger space here, which means you're going to have more wraps. That's just, you know, the way the process works, so don't think you screwed something up. Trim your end off and press it down. And did I do it successfully? Okay, there we go. I'm actually pretty happy with that. So the drilling of the punching of the holes instead of the curling of the wire just gives a bit, you know, more of a clean line and a little bit more of a geometric flavor to your piece. Okay, so now we're going to repeat. So basic wire wrap loop, we're going to do a small one for the bottom. So we're going to go close-ish to the end of our pliers. We're going to go away, rotate, back up over the top, rotate, underneath. There we go. Lady with the scarf. Grab your paddle, through your hole, into the loop, like so. Hold across, and wrap. Trim your end off. And if you have a little stabby bit, press it down. Now drop your bead on there. And then we want to make sure that we are looking at the circle part of our loop. We're going to go away, rotate, back up over the top, rotate underneath. There we go. Through and up into the loop. Ta-da! And then hold across your loop with your chain nose pliers. And once again, we're going to start wrapping at the base of that loop, and we're not going to stop till we've reached our bead. So it doesn't matter so much if the bottom matches the top. What you want as far as goals go is ideally for the right to match the left. But honestly, if that doesn't happen either, no one's probably going to notice. Just don't point it out to them. Trim. Press that in. All right, and there we go. Those are basically our earrings. All we need to do is add our ear wires. Now, sometimes with an earring like this, if you just attach your ear wire, there's a danger that your earring's going to kind of flip upside down, and all of a sudden you're going to look at your ear and it's going to look like this, and it's going to be weird. If you are concerned about that, you can actually drill a hole right up there and put your ear wire through that, but this earring has enough weight on the bottom that unless you're like headbanging in a mosh pit, the chances that it's going to flip over are pretty slim. I know you want to headbang in a mosh pit, you just need to secure your ear wires.
And wear my mask.
And wear your mask, exactly. Now, one thing that I am going to do is I'm going to just alter these ear wires to make this connection point a little bit bigger. It's pretty easy to do. I'm just going to literally take my round nose pliers, bend them open, and then go a little bit up my pliers and bend them back closed. So all I did was I just gave myself just a little bit more space in there. See, the one on the left is the one that I just did, and this is your original. Just give myself a little bit more space in there for my components. Once again, just take your round nose and open that up. Scoot your round nose in a bit to a bigger part and then roll it. That's all you need to do. And that's one reason why I love this style of ear wire, this style with the little ball on it, is they're really easy to do that too. And I'm just going to grab my chain nose, open that up by twisting it, drop it onto my earring component and close it up. Also, fun things, if you wanted to, you could wire wrap a bead or even a string of beads or take a chain or something and attach it onto that ear wire, and then it would hang inside of this space here, which I think could be really, really fun. And then we're going to repeat, open, drop it on, close it up, and voila! Simple paddle earrings. So that's our project for this evening for the tutorial stream. Thank you so much for hanging out with us while we did this simple paddle earring project. Also, I am really a fan of the hole punch method. I think it gives you a little bit of a cleaner look, but it's just different. So this is the way that my project, you may or may not be able to see. There we go, focus. So that's the one that I did, and then that is my prototype. So just a little bit more kind of curliness and such on the prototype, but I think they both turned out really nice. So thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Thanks, ASO, on the Beading Dreams live tutorial stream on this Saturday night in August. That's one of the complaints I often get about my teaching Corvus, is that I make it look too easy, but it's not hard. It isn't. I swear. And if your earrings wind up looking cattywampus, then just make them independents. It's just that easy. But seriously, thank you all so much for hanging out with us on the Beading Dreams live tutorial Saturday night stream. I'm Allison from Beading Dreams in Dallas, Texas. Beading Dreams is an actual brick and mortar retail bead store. Yes, we are here on Lover's Lane in Dallas with actual physical premises, and we are here to feed your need to bead 6 days a week. Right now we are open Monday through Saturday from 1 p.m. until 6 p.m. We are also here on this channel, twitch.tv/Beading Dream, 5 times a week with complimentary tutorials. We stream Monday through, not Mondays anymore, Wednesday through Saturday at 6 p.m. Central Time because we are here in Dallas, Texas, plus a bonus stream Thursdays at noon and live merchandise sales every Wednesday and Saturday at 7:30 p.m. So that means a couple of things. That means, first of all, if you're not going to make it to the live merchandise sale in half an hour, we will miss you terribly, but we hope you have a fantastic Saturday night and a great weekend. And the next time you'll catch us on this channel, twitch.tv/Beating Dream, is going to be Wednesday at 6 p.m. And we are going to be doing an interesting project. We're going to be doing a project on creating custom textures for metal clay and polymer clay. So we're going to be playing with some linoleum blocks. We're going to be playing with erasers, carving, and doing a little bit of polymer clay molding as well. That's Wednesday at 6. If you are going to make it to the live merchandise sale, that means that it is time for you to pour yourself a cocktail, get yourself a snack, get some hydration, get comfy, get cozy, and get ready for some beating retail therapy right in the comfort of your own home. So hopefully I'll see each and every, I know, polymer clay, it's super exciting. I love polymer clay. I need to do more polymer clay tutorials. I'm not fantastic at it like some people are, but it's really a fun medium and a lot more relaxing than some of the other things that I do. So we'll see y'all back on this channel, twitch.tv/Beating Dream, in about 30 minutes for the live merchandise sale. Remember, it's our Sips, Chops, and Shenanigans sale, and we are continuing Martini Month. So if anybody's feeling Martini inspired, mix yourself a martini and grab a seat. Get ready for some bead retail therapy in the comfort of your living room, office, or from wherever you are observing the Beating Dream stream. So everyone have a great 30 minutes, and we will see you all for the sale.